Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk about whether AMC retail investor ownership is really falling. Are those institutions buying more AMC? Are retail investors selling? Or is this just caused by some bad data? I also want to talk a little bit more about the Department of Justice investigation as well. So stay tuned and let's make some money. And now I want to dive straight in with the key information. So, if we take a look at these 13F filings, we can see that from their quarter 2 13Fs, institutions held around 24% of AMC. From the recent quarter 3 filings, it seems like this has increased to 31%. And that means that beforehand, AMC was held around 80% by the apes, and now it's only held around 70% by the apes. Does that mean that 10% of apes have sold their shares to the institutions, or is something else going on here? Well, I think it's really important to remember that what these 13F filings are doing is measuring the legal float and how much of the legal float is held by institutions. Really, these 13Fs don't show us at all what is happening with retail investors and how many shares retail investors actually hold. All this is telling us is that institutional investors increased their shareholdings from 127 million shares to around 160 million shares. That doesn't mean they bought an extra 33 million shares from us apes. It just means that they've bought an extra 33 million shares. It doesn't mean that our retail investor shareholdings have fallen from around 380 million shares to around 340 million shares. It just means that the institutions have bought more shares. Now, the reason why I'm making this clear difference is because we know full well that the AMC retail investors don't only hold 380 or 340 million shares. In fact, we hold the float many times over. And in the last 3 months or the last 6 months, apes have been doubling down and buying even more AMC. We have not been selling AMC, and therefore our actual ownership hasn't been going down. It just means that the institutions are buying more shares. Basically what I'm saying is that these 13F filings only measure 100% of the true float, and therefore the institutions have increased their holdings from 24% of the true float to 31% of the true float. But we also know that there isn't 100% of the float out there at the moment. There's 200%, 300%, 500%, 1,000%, because what we're saying is that there's 2 billion, maybe 3, 5, 10 billion synthetic shares out there. And therefore, yes, institutional investors have bought more shares, but also the AMC apes have also bought more shares because there's been tons and tons of synthetics created. So to cut a long story short, no, the apes are not selling their shares. Yes, investors have bought more, but they haven't really bought them from the apes, they've just bought more synthetics. Guys, if you sign up to BlockFi using my link in the description below, you can currently get up to $250 in free Bitcoin just for signing up and making your first deposit. With BlockFi, not only can you just buy some Bitcoin, but you can also earn interest on your deposits up to 9% per year, also paid in cryptocurrency. Therefore, you can continue to accumulate more and more of it. You can also take out a BlockFi rewards credit card, where you get up to 3.5% cash back on your purchases, also, again, paid in cryptocurrency. And when you've generated a significant profit on your investment, instead of having to sell off your cryptocurrency and potentially missing out on the next run up, you can take out a crypto-backed loan. Therefore, you can get given cash without having to sell off your crypto. I think this is also very much supported by what Adam Aaron said in his recent interview with Melissa Lee. Let's take a listen.
Retail investors essentially had bought the company, one share at a time, right? More than 80% of our stocks held by retail investors. If you take out the index funds who have to buy our stock because they buy everything on the exchange, I think retail investors are like 90% of the ownership base of AMC. I think they're there for a lot of reasons, but I think one of them is because they love the company and they love the industry. They love movies.
So what Adam Aaron has said right there is that us AMC retail investors still hold 80% of the float as of October and November. And actually, if you remove the ETFs, us apes actually hold around 90% of the float. Now, interestingly, this is exactly what's shown on Whale Wisdom from the 13F filings. Obviously, these 13F filings don't include the ETFs, and therefore, excluding ETFs, institutions hold 31%, ETFs hold another 10%, and us retail investors hold the remaining 90%. Now, interestingly, if you've got good math skill, you'll notice that that obviously doesn't total 100%. 90% plus 10% plus 30% is 130%. So right there, Adam Aaron has just again exposed the existence of synthetic shorts. I also think he's being very conservative of his estimate of 90% of the float being held by us retail investors, because I think it's more like 300 or 400% of the float when you include all the synthetics. This is a screenshot of Fidelity's buy and sell distribution from the 10th of December. As you can see, still to this day, so many more apes are buying AMC compared to those selling. On the 10th of December, there was 9,000 buy orders for AMC and only 3,300 sell orders. And this just goes to show that indeed AMC retail investors are not selling AMC and holding less of the float. We've continued buying and now own around 90% of the float, by Adam Aaron's words. Now, I also think that the SEC investigation into AMC and GameStop is now bigger than the SEC, and that's why the Department of Justice is getting involved. We've got a little Twitter conversation here saying, holy moly, the Department of Justice is probing hedge fund short selling. Love Life Freely replied saying, why not ask the obvious question? How come Gary Gensler hasn't done his job yet? Kilgore replied saying this can be interpreted in a number of ways. Either A, the Department of Justice is coming in because the SEC isn't doing its job. That's the narrative that the apes will probably spread. But the more likely scenario is that the SEC asked the Department of Justice to step in when they realised the magnitude of what's going on. As Tom Nash says, the Department of Justice is now investigating short sellers. Everyone is screaming at the SEC for not doing its job, and they are kind of right. But you should know that the SEC doesn't have the authority to bring criminal charges against alleged violations, only civil charges. So the SEC can in fact only issue fines. I think the SEC has done their investigation into AMC and GameStop short selling and realised that, hang on, a fine isn't going to cut it this time. Now we need to involve the Department of Justice so that there's actually some criminal charges issued. Now you may say, Tom, well, when exactly do the Department of Justice get involved? What's their criteria? And looking directly at the Department of Justice website, it says the division often receives questions about why it announces some, but not all investigations. In general, the Department of Justice does not publicly announce investigations or investigative findings. There are several reasons for this policy. Announcing an investigation of some civil or criminal violations could make it more difficult to obtain witness cooperation or gather evidence. They said the department regulations allow exceptions to its policy when the matter under investigation results in an indictment or some type of enforcement action. The department can make exceptions to this policy when the issue under investigation has already received a lot of publicity or where the community needs to be reassured that the department is investigating the incident or where announcing the investigation is necessary to protect the public interest, safety or welfare. I think obviously the Department of Justice has announced this investigation because of how much publicity it's been receiving, and they obviously need to reassure us, the retail investors, they are going to do their job. Now you also might say, well, Tom, this investigation announced a few short-selling firms, but I don't think any of them have anything to do with AMC and GameStop. There's no link, is there? Or as Batman Stock so eloquently put on Twitter, in case you're wondering about Muddy Waters Research, who are under investigation by the Department of Justice, old articles relevant probably to the investigations. You can see here a number of articles about Muddy Waters Research attempting to mislead the public, most notably with GameStop and AMC. And another one, Muddy Waters is still short, with whom to learn that the Game Station, which I think is GameStop, and AMC Cinema. And therefore, Muddy Waters Research, one of the short-selling firms being investigated by the Department of Justice, does indeed have links to GameStop and AMC. And now some on Reddit believe they may have just figured out the real reason as to why Citadel has just hired Joe Biden's former head of Secret Service. He said that sort of expertise is useless against the SEC or the Department of Justice, or apes. However, they are useful if you fear for your physical safety. But why would Ken Griffin be fearing for his physical safety? And he says, I don't know, maybe Ken Griffin just told the billionaires, the royals and the shady characters who invest with you that they couldn't withdraw their money, or they can only withdraw 6.25% a quarter, or face a giant fee. And Ken may have also told them that there's a chance those folks could soon see an 8, 9 or 10 digit loss if Ken is forced to unwind his short positions on AMC and GameStop. Because at the end of the day, don't forget that Ken Griffin isn't shorting AMC and GameStop with his own money. He's shorting AMC and GameStop with investors' money. And not only that, but he's also borrowing money from other people and other institutions to short AMC and GameStop even more. And therefore, Ken Griffin is going to have a lot of lost money on his hands when this goes south for him and he's forced to unwind his short positions and cover them for giant losses. He said that Mr. Cho's expertise is personal protection, so physically protecting Ken Griffin from any danger and maybe assassination attempts from these shady billionaires. And finally, Marco Meltzer has just clarified why Citadel holding Evergrande bonds is very bad for Citadel, but very good for us. He said Citadel can use Chinese commercial paper or Evergrande bonds as collateral. Once Evergrande has a D rating, D for default, they can't anymore because those bonds receive a 100% haircut for collateral requirements. And he said Citadel must sell shares to cover billions of dollars in margin debt or close those short positions. In doing so, they must buy GameStop and AMC at any price. Even if the market collapses, GameStop and AMC shares will soar. And just down here he clarified to say AMC as well. We know that when GameStop squeezes, AMC will also squeeze at the same time, or when AMC squeezes, it will bring GameStop along with it. Because these two companies or two shares are so highly linked, because many of the funds that are shorting AMC are also shorting GameStop. So when they're forced to cover their GameStop shorts, they'll also be forced to cover their AMC shorts as well. And if they only get partially margin called and only have to cover their GameStop short position and not their AMC position, when they buy all of those GameStop shares and close their positions, the GameStop stock will rocket upwards and tons of retail will jump onto AMC as the next thing, therefore causing those shorts to be forced to cover their AMC positions as well. Guys, be sure to let me know down in the comments below why you think that AMC retail investor ownership appears to be falling. Is it just because of the bad data, because the 13Fs don't include all of the synthetics, or do you think that AMC retail investors are actually selling? And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of my others. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.